All right, so setting up the sequin backdrop. In this, you want to clear the floor first. Just make sure there's no debris, no water, nothing that's going to damage the backdrop. Go ahead and grab your bag, put that down, take out the sequin. This should be all folded up in the reverse order. You can put the bag behind the backdrop and then just start unrolling it. And unrolling it where the hem is towards the front of the backdrop, and then you can unroll it and you can see the back side of the sequin is on the floor, not the sequins themselves. So I just unroll it halfway like this, and then I'll go ahead and grab the top portion of the other side and open it up. So now you're starting to see that the sequins are showing, but they're not touching the floor. And I lay everything out, try to get just a nice smooth backdrop before I go ahead and grab my pole. So with this backdrop stand, we'll take the pole. It's already kind of set up for us. And, you know, if you're running on space, you can kind of shorten it so you don't hit anything if you need it. But in this case, I don't really need it. So I'll just slide it through the top hole. And as I'm going through, be really careful. Just kind of give it some slack. Don't just snag it through. You could rip things because the end has a little hook on it. But get that backdrop pole all the way through. Stand behind it, and then bring it back to the backdrop stand. Make sure all that's already set up before you get into it. And make sure you have enough space so it's rather simple to get going. So yeah, and then just kind of pull it like I'm doing and find your center and just do exactly what I'm doing. You want to scrunch that up as much as you can, but make sure it's an even scrunch. So the point is that we want ripples, right? We want these seams kind of going down so the light doesn't do weird things. It gets weird when you don't have those ripples, and it shows stuff we don't want. So take your time with it. There are little markers that we have for I believe 7.5, and 8 feet, somewhere in there. But find a good height that we do with these backdrops, and they're marked with little lines on them. So you'll find the lines, and they should just match up. So you don't have to really just eyeball it too much. But again, do both sides evenly. Don't just like move one side up all the way. Yep, just like that. That looks pretty good. And again, make sure the bottom of it folds under. That's important so people don't step on it. And if you have sandbags, which we require, put those on the backside, and we'll get to that after this. But the main thing right now is just making sure that everything is at the right height and that you have, you know, a good amount of like ripples going down the center. So what I'm doing now is grabbing the sandbags and putting them behind the backdrop to kind of hide them, and then you can even put them just over the edge of the material just so it kind of stays in place. If you're outside, you're going to want to bring more sandbags, and in that case you would put them on the front legs as well as the back, and just really reinforce that backdrop because wind and other things that could cause it to fall. Yeah, so just make sure the bottom looks really neat. Take your time with it. This right now is like what I do to actually leave an event. And when we're done with it, we're breaking down, right? The prop table's still up. I'm not touching that yet. I'm just doing the backdrop, right? So here I just kind of messed up. And what am I trying to do? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to grab it from the other side, not the front side. And that's going to help me. So first thing is try to grab the backdrop and kind of lay it out again. But again, make sure your floor is clean. The event just happened. There could be like all sorts of stuff on the floor. Make sure it's cleaned up before you do it. If you have to do it this way, this is probably the best way to to do it and to get the backdrop back to where it needs to be. So lay it out again by kind of like how this is. And I grabbed it by standing behind it and bringing it down, not standing in front of it. And just get your pole out first. Again, be careful it doesn't snag. And we're just going the reverse way of how we brought it out after an event. Make sure all your edges are even. Sometimes the sequins have these like little threads and they get caught on each other. Try to correct it if you see it happening just by being delicate with it. We don't want those things falling off. So what I'm doing now is I'm just rolling it up neatly from the back side. So the hem side, the side that the pole goes through, always remains at the front and the end of the part that you're rolling it up. And in this case, I'm just gonna go the reverse way, roll it back up into like kind of like a snake thing, and then putting it back in the bag right there. So then that bag or that backdrop is ready to go back on the wall after an event.